Shalom, family, and good afternoon. Good to see you. I hope you're all doing well. Well, look like everything is going according to Project 2025 because part of Project 2025 was shutting down the federal courts. And look like that's happening. So the courts have officially ran out of money. So they are still operating, but on sort of a very limited type of schedule. Remember, nobody's getting paid. The judges are not getting paid, the federal judges, and their workers are not getting paid. They're furloughed. So when you go in there, you're going to see the bare minimum amount of people. There are folks saying they have not gotten court dates they were anticipating. And more than likely, all of that is on pause. They're going to do just the things that they need to do. If it's something that can wait, more than likely, you're going to be rescheduled for whenever the government opens or if it opens. But at this point, everything is pretty much on pause when it comes down to the federal courts. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to it. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me a one if you can see my screen. Boy, y'all, it's almost like there is nothing good happening in this system these days. There's nothing good. And the longer it stays shut down, the worse it's actually going to get. You know, the courts, they only had enough money for about, really technically, about a month and a half. But now they said they don't have anything, and remember the budget office is closed, which does the funding of the entire federal government. So there is no money coming in, you know? But is it so bad, y'all? Many of these courts, that's where our people have been done wrong in many of these courts, state and federal. And now look at what's happening. It is really the system just it's is America dead yet? Because I think she's about dead. Seriously. Mm-mm-mm. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get to these videos, and thank you for the ones.
The federal court system has announced that it's going to run out of money as of Monday, October 20th, 2025. Up to now, the government shutdown hasn't touched the federal court system because the courts were able to rely on court fee balances and other funds not dependent on a new appropriation. But that money's gone. And starting on October 20th, federal courts will maintain only limited operations. This applies to all federal appellate courts, district courts, and bankruptcy courts. Federal judges will continue to serve, and a skeleton staff will perform only the basic work that's necessary to keep the doors open. Pacer and case management electronic case file system will remain in operation. Federal juries will also continue, but beyond that, individual courts will determine which cases continue on schedule and which ones may be delayed. But there won't be anyone to answer the phones or help with any problems. If you're involved in a case, it may take a lot longer than you originally expected. If you've got any questions about your federal student loans, your private student loans, or any other debt whatsoever, as always, get in touch. You know where to find me.
The Supreme Court is about to run out of money, and federal courts across the country are expected to run out by early next week because of the government shutdown. The nation's top court expects to run out of funds on October 18, Patricia McCabe, the Supreme Court Public Information Officer, said. As a result, the Supreme Court building will be closed to the public until further notice. The Supreme Court will continue to conduct essential work such as hearing oral arguments, issuing orders and opinions, processing case filings, and providing police and building support needed for those operations. Federal judges will continue to serve in accordance with the Constitution, but court staff may not perform certain activities except permitted under the Anti-Deficiency Act, the officer said in a statement.
In downtown Dallas, standing in front of the federal courthouse building, people are making their way inside where we know things are going to look a little bit different. According to a press release from the U.S. District Court of the Northern District of Texas, it has run out of money. Basically, what this means is that the federal judiciary now moves into what is called a non-paid status. The funding is gone, so there are some services that will be on pause until the government reopens. The list is lengthy. Take a look. We know court staff likely won't respond to inquiries unless they're directly related to active cases. Certificates of good standing won't be issued. No new ceremonial events, tours, or trainings will be scheduled. And the clerk's office can't issue refunds from pay.gov. Court staff will not receive pay during the shutdown, and court-appointed attorneys, many of whom haven't been paid or reimbursed since the summer, will have to wait even longer for that reimbursement. But there are other services that will continue despite it all. Even with the funding lapse, cases will still be heard and decided. Civil and criminal filings will be accepted. The jury system will keep running. Fees will still be collected and processed. Restitution payments and registry fund transactions will continue. Court reporters will keep transcribing proceedings. And of course, security and screening procedures remain in place inside the federal courthouse. Now it is day 20 of the government shutdown. We know U.S. senators are scheduled to meet today to vote on the federal spending bill. Outcome right now looking pretty grim.
The federal court system will begin shutting down Monday, October 20th. Here's what you need to know. The federal court system has officially announced that it will run out of money on Monday, October 20th, as the ongoing government shutdown enters a very critical stage. Up to now, courts have been able to stay open using reserve funds from filing fees and other sources not tied to congressional appropriations. That money is now gone. So beginning October 20th, federal judges will actually continue to serve, but only essential staff is going to remain. All federal appellate district and bankruptcy courts will scale back to bare minimum operations. The PACER and the electronic filing systems used by lawyers, journalists, and the public will stay online. The federal jury trials will continue, but many other cases will be delayed or rescheduled. Phone lines and public counters will not be staffed in many districts, so expect extended hold times. If you are part of a federal case, whether civil or criminal, you should expect major delays in proceedings and limited access to court services. So let me tell you why this matters, because these court delays are going to impact millions of Americans, including people who are awaiting trial, immigration hearings, bankruptcy filings, and civil lawsuits. So with no appropriations in place, courts have no legal way to pay most of their staff after Monday. This is the first time in recent history the court system has hit this shutdown threshold. So we talk about government shutdowns in abstract terms, but this one is about to actually hit home in a different way, right? So we talked about it impacting SNAP, impacting certain things that social services will not be able to continue to work or get to the people. But this one is different because whether you're a business owner, renter, immigrant, journalist, or any of the things, backlog cases are going to become normal. Slower protection rights are going to become an issue. That in and of itself, from a domestic perspective, is huge. Less access to public legal services is also becoming an issue as well. So here's what you need to do. Continue to keep your ears to the streets. This is not political theater like they want to play this out to be. This is impacting real lives, and it is going to absolutely have a ripple effect, but you absolutely still need to know. For more news and information that you can use, head over to brownstoneworldwide.com, Cityscape Radio, and Brownstone Living magazine. We'll see you around.
The federal courts are now being shut down partially as a result of the government shutdown.
The money ran out on October 17th, and now employees are being furloughed. Civil cases, disputes between parties are going to be put to the side. Criminal cases will go forward, it appears, at least temporarily. It's just hard to know how it's going to affect everything, but it is going to impact employees of the federal government and people seeking to have their cases heard there. And a bigger picture, what we've seen in the last several months is a deterioration of the entire Department of Justice. Lawyers have quit in droves. 70% of lawyers who work for the Civil Rights Department of the Department of Justice have quit. 2/3 of the lawyers working to defend government actions have quit. And the courts are going to feel the impact of this because there aren't enough lawyers working for the federal government now to handle the litigation that's going on over the actions that have been taken by the government. So it is going to be interesting to combine the lack of government court access with the lack of lawyers at the Department of Justice and how that plays out. Honestly, this is going to be an interesting chapter in American history. Stay tuned.
A lot of people have been asking me why their federal cases haven't been moving. So when you're dealing with a federal government shutdown, the federal courts at that point will still handle things for a couple of weeks while they still have funding. And as that funding starts to dwindle, more and more segments of their faculties are going to start getting shut down. So you're going to see, if you show up at the federal courthouse, for instance, they'll be working with a skeleton crew, things like that. Also, the federal courts will start handling things that, come first, the most important situations that they have to deal with. So it's going to limit the already slow pace at which they already function. So it's just something to think about if you have questions about why your federal case isn't being handled as quickly as you might be expecting. That's probably something to do with it at this point. It's just something to think.
So the U.S. federal judiciary will begin furloughs on Monday because they are running out of money due to this closure. So yes, while this is the master plan, they're trying to shut everything down. This is the moment. This is the moment we need to be calling and emailing multiple times a day our representation, especially if we have red team members that are our representation up in DC. I called at midnight and I'm about to call right now. And don't say, well, they're not there to check the messages. BS. I called them this week multiple times and they've answered the phone. They answer the phone and say, hello, Mrs. So-and-so, your email is still such and such, right? That's how much I call. They see me on the caller ID. They already know who I am. And while MTG is not my representation, don't think that I'm not calling her office as well, thanking her for being the voice of reason and speaking up and speaking out. If you had ever told me that I would be calling that woman's office to thank her for anything, I would have told you were out of your goddamn mind. But here we are. So that is the solution that I'm offering up. At the behest of my friend, I call him, in my book, I have him Deshaun number 2 because I have 2 friends, mutuals that are Deshaun's. And at his suggestion to quell fear-mongering, to also offer up solutions. So that is the solution that I'm offering up. So I'm going to do that now, and then I got to lay down and take a nap because I have a lot of driving to do. I have to drive to New Orleans tonight. So get the 5 Calls app. Get into your emails. They're still working right now. They've got another hour before they shut down for the day.
The courts have run out of money. What does this mean for federal court and your criminal case in federal court? It sounds crazy, but while the judges continue to be paid, the prosecutors are not being paid, CJA attorneys are not being paid, the court staff is not being paid, but it's operations mostly as usual. With that said, a lot of the courts are entering modified operations. In order to figure out what is happening in your district where your case is pending, you need to, one, talk to your attorney, and two, go on the court's website to figure out, is there some sort of notice that talks about what, if anything, has changed. Over the past week, we started getting emails from the court talking about limited hours for the cashier's office, limited hours for the clerk's office. In one district, the cashier's office is not open on Fridays. So if you have a criminal case, if you need to make any sort of payments or do any sort of filings, talk to your lawyer, and then also look on the court website to figure out how the court operations modified.
Breaking news, the federal judiciary has been hit by the stalemate in Congress over funding. Hey y'all, it's Kirk, and I'm looking at a memo from the Administrative Office of Courts that is dated October 16th of 2025. It kind of reiterates that the courts have been open due to getting funding from other areas, but indicates that as of today, Monday, October 20th, they will begin furloughing employees. And those furloughed employees will not be working. They're non-essential. Essential folks, or people doing some essential functions, will have to work. They will likely be unpaid. Now, for federal judges, at least district judges, their pay is guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution, so they will still be paid. But other folks are not going to be paid as this lingers on, this shutdown continues. But we will have some folks who are working, providing those essential services. It looks like this impact has hit the Supreme Court as well, as they're limiting some of their activities right now. This memo does end saying, based on the 2019 law, that the federal employees who are furloughed or not being paid will be paid their money once the funding comes through. So at least we have that. I believe the last time that we had a government shutdown that impacted the federal judiciary was maybe during the Clinton administration. So it has been a while, and certainly it's concerning for us that we now have the judiciary, not just the executive branch, being impacted as a result of this. But if I hear any more about this funding issue of the judiciary, I will certainly let y'all know. As always, if you enjoy my content, please come out and give me a like, a follow, and a repost. Thank y'all.
Oh boy, it's about to be a circus up in here. So it's going to be a while before they get to federal cases. It's going to be a while if you're expecting a court date to get that court date. Oh, it's crazy up in here. It is crazy. Oh man. So you're going to have to watch the replay. So anyway, y'all, look. This place, I knew it was gonna be going down, but it's really almost at the bottom of the ocean now at this point. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and they're no close on a negotiation than they were on the first day the government shut down. And see, Donald Trump behind the scenes, they plan on raising everybody's insurance premium in the country. And that's what the Democrats are fighting against, for him to, start charging premiums. But at the rate that it's going and all the Project 2025 things they're doing behind the scenes right now, more than likely, everybody's going to be paying more in premium, as if that's what many people can afford right now with the inflation, with so many people getting laid off. It is a bad time for so many people right now for anything to be going up. So we shall see, y'all. Like they said, it's never gotten this far before when it came down to the courts. This right now, I would say the thing that's equivalent to it is the lockdown in 2020, because the federal court then had to close down a lot of its operational functions then. And now they're going back to that now with limited operations. So, yeah, so we shall see. We shall see. And I definitely will stay on top of this story. So, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this live stream. Please come back because I got more coming. So, I will see you later. Be on the lookout for my next live stream. Shalom, family. Oh, and thank you. I forgot. G. Bowman Jr., thank you for the super chat. Pride goes before destruction. Proverbs 16, verse 18, Sefer. Yes, absolutely it does. And thank you for your support for my channel. Shalom, family.